sore throat. So now we are in chapter 5, verse 6. Is it the right thing? Okay. So the verse I will chant and you will chant after me. Okay. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptu mayogataha yoga yukto munir brahma nachirena digacchati. So you will chant after me. Sanyasastu mahabaho
Sanyasastu mahabaho
Sukkhamaptu mayogataha Yoga yukto munir brahma Nachirena digacchati. Okay. So what we have seen so far is Arjuna was looking for solution to his fundamental problem of inadequacy, sorrow, limitation, and he wanted not a quick fix, but he wanted really the most fundamental answers to these questions. So therefore Lord Krishna started teaching him the question, who am I? Okay, so that means everybody knows who one is, but the vision of Upanishad or Gita about who you are is very different from what you think you are. Okay, so that's what the whole teaching was given as to how Atma is not this little individual, but it is what? Satyam, Jnanam, Anandam, Brahma. So all the methodology was already taught. So I will not go through it again. Then came the question that if knowledge of myself, which is already a full, it's not that I'm not a little entity in the universe, but if I am the truth of the whole universe, then why should I do anything? Right? Why everything that I want to accomplish is already accomplished, so I can just not do anything. And this is where Lord Krishna gave a series of talks on what exactly is Karma Yoga. Okay? So Karma Yoga is, it has twofold functions. One is that when you have a mind, when everybody's mind is afflicted with some amount of fear, sadness, sometimes envy, jealousy, all kinds of things we suffer from, and that shows that when we interact with the world, there is a certain distortion taking place. Okay? So if we are totally objective, we can deal with situations and do what needs to be done without carrying all these burdens. Okay? So that means at times we are very lucid, we do what needs to be done, we don't carry burdens, but at times we actually carry a lot of burden. Anything that you have which is like frustration, anxiety, feeling of, oh, I'm no good, or I'm a victim of circumstances, or things are not fair, all these different opinions that we carry, which become the implicit assumptions of our life, based on which all our day-to-day transactions take place, shows that I'm not seeing things as they are, I'm seeing those things through my lenses, and those lenses are not what? Very accurate. Okay? And because of, even though they are not accurate, what difference does it make? It leads to a lot of suffering. Okay? So what Lord Krishna is saying is that until you change this orientation, okay, that we have, then this knowledge will not take place. Because what is the knowledge? The knowledge is you are the whole. Okay? And you are feeling what? You are feeling I'm no good. So there is a big gap between what it is talking about and what you think you are. Okay? So you first have to, what is the first step? The first step is to have some good self-esteem. Get rid of the relative distortions. Relative distortions that we have. Okay? Then you have a healthy psychology, healthy human being who is feeling nurtured, who is feeling good about oneself, who is feeling that I am part of this whole great universe and I am proactive in what I have to do. If I feel that some things need to be fixed, I do what I can instead of what? all the time sitting and blaming somebody else, or thinking that this one is no good and that one is no good, and I'm less complaining and more proactive. Okay? So all these, and the more proactive you become, what happens? The whole universe starts helping you.
Inspiring.
Yeah, they help you to achieve certain bigger goals that you have. Don't think that you are living in a dead universe, okay, where the nature is all dumb. Please change this view, because all that is here, we will see, is Ishvara. And Ishvara, as an intelligent being, pervades everything. Okay? So we will see that later, what is the nature of Ishvara, the cause of the universe. But the fact is that you need to relatively change your psyche. Okay? So that means that actions that you perform, generally in your day-to-day living, that's when all the challenges come up. Okay? So when things don't happen your way, how are you going to deal with things? So once the actions give you an opportunity to look at your relative distortions and to undo those distortions. Okay? This is why actions are important, even though knowledge will finally lead you to the freedom that you are searching for. So knowledge is very important, but you cannot disregard actions, right? So this is what Lord Krishna has been talking about, that the whole Karma Yoga, living a life of Karma Yoga, where you continue to live in the world, but now you are using the action to have an insight into which are my distortions, okay, and then undoing them. Because this is a first step to knowing the final reality about yourself. If this first step is not over, then the final reality will not, first of all, be understood. And in case you think that you understand, you cannot There is a big discrepancy between what you understand cognitively and how you live your life. So you need to bridge the gap. Okay? So then, here, Lord Krishna is reiterating the fact, because in the Vedic way of life, there are two choices which are given for somebody who is a mumukshu. Who is a mumukshu? Mumukshu is the one who is moktu ichchuhu, the one who wants freedom. And that, in fact, all of us need freedom. Everybody is looking for freedom. Most of us look for that freedom through what? Artha, securities, dharma, being an ethical person, and kama, certain pleasures that we have. Mumukshu is the one who has recognized the fact, through my normal pursuits of security, pleasure, and even an ethical life, I cannot get the ultimate freedom that I am searching for. Okay? So that means that person then begins to, then what is the solution? How do I get that freedom that is something that I am searching for? Then there is a logic that Bhagavad Gita gives, which is also what Upanishads say, that if you are basically a limited person, if you are basically an inadequate person, then what? There is no solution, right? Imagine a limited person making a limited effort, getting a limited result. Can that person find freedom from limitation that one is searching for? It's impossible. Okay? So that means the only possible logical solution is that I'm already free. And if I'm already free, then I have to ask, why do I think that I'm bound? Okay? So therefore, the main problem is that of ignorance. Okay? So that means I now solve the problem of ignorance by knowing the true nature of myself. So with the help of Gita and the Upanishad, I re-examine who I am. Okay? Now, when I want to examine who I am, two different choices of lifestyle are given in the Vedic vision. Okay? One is continuing to live in this world, and the second lifestyle that is enjoined by the Vedas is what we call sannyasa. Okay? Sannyasa is what? Sannyasa is what we call a renunciate. Who is a renunciate? The renunciate in the vision of Veda is the one who recognizes that my whole purpose of life is now self-knowledge, and I want to what? Minimize all the different roles that I play, and I only what? Seek knowledge. I give up all the other roles that I play, and that is something which is enjoined by Vedic tradition. So therefore, there is a ritual. Every February, when we go to Rishikesh, there is a Shivratri, and during the Shivratri, our teacher gives sannyasa to some students who have been studying. Okay? And the ritual is something which is very beautiful, because you go and take bath in this freezing cold Ganga in February, chilled February early morning. You go and take a dip. That itself is a huge effort, right? And you come out and you look at the sun and you look at the water and you declare to the whole world that right now I have understood that self-knowledge is something which is going to lead to liberation. I'm not interested in anything else. Now, from now on, I'm a non-competitor in the society. I don't compete anymore. Okay? Because competition means what? You always hurt somebody, you always have to get ahead, you feel jealous of people who get ahead, so there is this whole big thing. And he says that now I'm not comparing myself to anybody. I just want this self-knowledge. There is no end to this comparison. Okay?
Is there a particular words that is said, or some specific words?
Yeah, there's a whole ritual, and there are different mantras, which mean that now, in fact, you are giving abhayam to everyone. Abhayam means not fear. So that you don't be afraid of me, I'm not going to harm you. And I'm not going to compete with you. Exactly. So you're a non-competitor. You declare in front of the whole universe, and you say this is loudly.
What's that line?
So there's a huge, I haven't taken sannyasa, but there is a whole big line. If you want, I mean, we can give you. There is a.
See, just word. Asceticism would be also the same thing as renunciation.
See here, ascetic again means a monk. But I don't know, see that monk, what they do. In Vedic tradition, they leave everything not for its own sake. What is the Sanskrit word for renunciate? Sannyasi. Sannyasa. Samyak nyasaha. Okay? That is the meaning. Nyasa means giving up, but through what? Certain understanding of the fact that all these pursuits will not give me what I'm looking for, and the knowledge will give me what I'm looking for. So it's a pursuit of knowledge. See, this is where Vedic tradition is maybe slightly different from other traditions, because here you give up not just for the sake of giving up, you give up for knowledge. That is a big difference. You are not, and this is why people, when you are a sannyasi, they don't think of you as a beggar, because you have no income, you have no job, you have no family. They don't think about you as some kind of a dropout in the society. They have respect for you. Why? Because the culture respects a human being who has given up everything for self-knowledge. That is inbuilt in our culture. Because this knowledge, this moksha as a pursuit is a legitimate pursuit. It's a spiritual pursuit, and it is here and now. It is not heaven going hereafter, doing something to enjoy something hereafter. Right now I can find my liberation. This is how the Vedic culture is. And in fact, the Vedic culture is, right now, not only I can find my liberation, but I'm already free. And all I have to do is to what? Just to remove this veil of ignorance. Okay? So what keeps you away from your own freedom is what? Only your conclusions. And what do you then have to do? Examine your conclusions, and if they are wrong, give them up. Okay? So this is what it says, sannyasa is a lifestyle. Then the other lifestyle is what we say, that of a karma yoga. So you continue to do karma, but at the same time, you use the activities to what? Prepare yourself for this knowledge, to remove the distortions so that you can get ready for the knowledge. So 2 lifestyles are given. What seems to be an easy lifestyle?
Neither.
That's a good answer, right? What seems to be relatively easy? Oh wow,
No,
you're a wise person. You are a wise person.
No, maybe not.
Exactly. No, because Arjuna kept thinking that sannyasa is much easier, right? Because you have to give up everything and you have to
So there are no decisions.
study.
No competition.
Exactly. And you don't need to, now he's saying, I have to fight my cousins, I have to do this huge war, right? And that is a huge job that he has to do. So, and now...
And then the decision whether to fight or not to fight.
Exactly. And then what? The consequences of a war, so many people you have to kill, and then what? You have to live with the psyche where you feel guilty about all that you have done. So naturally, from his standpoint, which is an easier lifestyle? Sannyasa. Right? So he keeps asking Lord Krishna that if both, right, I'm wanting knowledge in one, I'm exclusively pursuing knowledge. In the other one, what am I doing? I'm pursuing knowledge plus I'm continuing to play my roles and continue to engage in the world. So he keeps thinking that sannyasa is a much easier way. True. It's an escape. Exactly. This is where Lord Krishna is saying it is seeming easier, but it is not necessarily easy. Why? Because it's an escape at times. Okay? So that means our teacher used to say that if the world is too much for you and then you want to run away to gain self-knowledge because you can't deal with the world, he says you stay right there. When you see a problem, make it into a non-problem. If you see it as a non-problem, then you're free. You can be here and you can be there and you can be anywhere. Okay? So that means the freedom that we are talking about does not come from you leaving things because things are too much. The freedom comes when you have so much freedom that you can deal with anything. Right? This is the freedom that is a real freedom. And this is where Lord Krishna is saying that yes, sannyasa as a lifestyle, because after speaking about karma yoga, he talks about a second lifestyle, which is a possibility. But he says, here he says, sannyasastu mahabaho dukkham aptum ayogataha. Ayogataha means if you are not ready, then sannyasa will give you what? Dukkha. How will sannyasa give you dukkha? Dukkha means sorrow or some kind of a sadness or unpleasantness. Why would sannyasa give a dukkha? You've given up everything, you're going and
Because your
sitting quietly.
desires you may not be able to give up.
Exactly, right? So prematurely, if you give up everything and you go to a small place, then what are you going to do?
Your mind is still there.
Exactly, right? Your mind is still dwelling on things. Or if it is basically a mind which is irritated, then simple things like, somebody passing by and honking can irritate you. You don't need big things in life to irritate you. If your external things are only a trigger, right? For somebody, somebody gets irritated by a horn, somebody gets irritated if a bird comes and keeps on flying and you feel, oh, you are distracted from your meditation. So because your mind is not resolved. And external situations, keep reminding you. It gives you actually an opportunity to resolve this. And what happens? Instead of resolving this, we keep on blaming outside. And we keep on thinking that outside things are legitimately causing us the disturbances.
Whatever is
So
disturbing
that
you,
means,
take it as a challenge.
exactly. So that means whatever is disturbing you, you have to take it as a challenge and you have to undo what? That disturbance. So that means this is the capacity every human being has. Nothing can disturb you if you don't want to be disturbed. This is a fact. No matter who, what, what the person is and what you can always manage. But if you get carried away and if you begin to play a role where you are either passive aggressive or aggressive, you don't handle the situation well, then you carry the burden. Okay? So this is where he says that sannyasa or leaving everything physically and going somewhere, but you still carry your mind. And this is where we see that, you know, not only, I'm giving a simple example of, you know, a car coming and disturbing you or a bird coming and disturbing you. But imagine you have not resolved all your issues and you then study a little bit of, let's say, Vedanta or Gita or whatever, right? And you assume role of a teacher. And everybody who comes to you starts giving you a lot of what? Respect, because you know people think that you are now a teacher of Vedanta or teacher of Gita. They come to you with so much a kind of, with such a goodwill that you almost have power over them. And if you are not mature, what will happen? There is going to be an abuse of that relationship in so many different ways. It can be a physical abuse, it can be financial abuse, it can be simple abuse, right? I saw one of the persons that I visited, and he was using all his students to do all his housework, you know, like it's like they think that, oh, they have to do guru seva, so somebody is washing his clothes, somebody is washing his dishes, and you know, I mean, you don't, they are doing it all, and he thinks that he's entitled to do all of this. Okay? So what I'm saying, or sometimes what happens is that, you know, even in our, you know, many of our students now, they are sannyasis. The minute they meet each other, the first question they ask is, how many students you have? You know, this is human nature. Okay? Before it is like what job you have and what kind of, where do you live, and you know, now it is, have you built an ashram, right? How many students you have? So you all still continue, you change your clothes, you change what you do, but you continue to carry what? The same mindset.
Of acquiring
more followers also sometimes.
Earlier you were acquiring money.
Yeah, now exactly.
Acquiring followers.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? So this is where Lord Krishna is saying that giving up is really not a solution, because you deprive yourself of an opportunity to grow. And if you have not grown, what happens? All these distortions you can't escape. They will keep on coming out in one way or the other. So that means, even though knowledge gives you the final liberation that you are searching for, he says, yoga yuktaha munir brahma na achirena adhigacchati. The yoga yukta is what? The person who's taken to karma yoga. It's a very safe way, because you're not claiming anything. You're not posing as some big guru or anything. You're continuing to play all the roles, right? So everything is in a, and when you play roles, when you go to work, there are always conflicts. When you deal with family members, there is always something or the other going wrong, right? This is what gives you, or when you're dealing with your friends or your relatives or with the world in general, that's when you begin to see where is it that you're thrown off your balance. Okay? And once you are aware of that, then initially what happens, before what happened, you are thrown off the balance, and what? You blame the world, and then what? You think this one is no good and that one is no good, and you're in a complaining mode. Now, what do? Who's a karma yogi? Who looks at yourself, the one person who looks at oneself. My attitudes, my values, my implicit assumptions, and you correct it. And you keep on correcting it till the time that you have a healthy psyche. The minute you have a healthy psyche, then what? This knowledge, which is telling you something much more about who you are than the normal teaching, right, will begin to make sense. Because your mind is what? A non-projecting mind. It is more or less cheerful. It's more or less free from burdens. Right? It is more or less free from low self-esteem. It is free from all these things. Right? You need to relatively free yourself from all of this. Only then this bigger reality will make sense to you. Okay? So this is what he says, sannyasa, even though it is a legitimate lifestyle, it will give you what? Dukkha if you are not prepared. Whereas if you are a karma yogi, then it's safe because na achirena the adhiganchati. Not long it is before you gain this moksha, because what? You are not artificially denying yourself the opportunity to grow and to undo the distortions. Okay? So then people think that sannyasa is giving up roles, and what is the ultimate vision of Atma that Upanishads are talking about? Atma, as we saw, is not a karta. Not a karta means it's not a doer. Okay?
It is not.
Is not the doer. Okay? So that means, what is the nature of Atma? We have already seen, but I will just do it very, very short. Okay? So, my identity is mostly with what? Different functions of my mind. Okay? So the mind has 4 different functions. One is what we call manas, which is the emotive mind. Then the second is we call buddhi, which is intellect. The third is chittam, which is the memory, and the fourth is ahankara. Ahankara is the sense of mind. It's actually not really ego, because it's a technical word, because ego has a connotation that it is something which is bad to be avoided. This is a function of the mind. Okay?
So what
That means that that function of the mind which has I sense. Okay? So that means that not only you have emotions like happiness, sadness, fears, whatever, right? Anger, but you have the conclusion, I am happy, I am compassionate, I am sadness. So that means what? Your I sense, which is a thought. That's why it keeps changing. One minute you think I'm happy, next minute you think that oh now I'm sad, third minute you say oh again I'm feeling good, right? So that means your I thought keeps on getting connected with the emotions which are changing, right? So your I sense also keeps changing, right? In one day, how many different I sense you have? Tell me.
Yeah, quite.
Quite a few, right? If that was really your nature, you can't give it up. Right? The very fact that one I sense comes and then it is replaced by something else which is quite opposite means what? None of this I sense is really what you are. Because if that was your real nature, you can't give it up. Okay? So that means the I sense is a 4th different function of your mind, right? Which is what we call antakarana, the internal instrument. So the mind, that we say English, what we say mind, has 4-fold functions. Okay? That means your I sense gets connected with the emotion. Your I sense also gets connected with what? Your cognitive capacity. So when you understand 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, not only you understand 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, you say what? I am intelligent. Okay? So that means your I sense has got connected to what? Your capacity to understand. Then you go and you learn higher physics, and then you said, my God, now all this is going beyond me. Then you say, I am not very intelligent. So that means what? Your I sense is getting connected to.
No, but isn't it like nature, like sea, that there is a high tide and low tide? The same way, my I sense goes through the highs as well as lows.
Absolutely.
So,
because
isn't it natural?
it is very natural, but is it you? That is the thing. Right? It is natural, obviously, because your emotions keep changing. Your cognitive capacities differ, because one time you feel you understand everything, next time you feel you don't understand any, not that much, right? So that means your I sense it keeps getting connected to this varied, different capacities that you really have, okay? But that is all variable. What it is showing is, this is true and it is healthy, right? I mean, there is a corresponding reality to it. But what Vedanta says is, all this is variable. There is one more, much bigger reality about you which is not variable.
Okay.
Right? So,
ahankara, what does it exactly mean?
That's an I sense. So that means when I'm saying there is 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, my mind understands 4. When I say I understand or I am intelligent, what am I doing?
Ahankara is the I.
The I thought.
And chitta is the memory.
Yeah.
And your memory affects your sense of yourself.
Yeah. So your I thought is not just a I thought floating alone. Please understand.
It is related.
It's related to your emotions, it's related to your buddhi, it's related to your chittam. This
if
is why
we use an equation, it is a function of these three.
it is something which keeps on getting connected to all three. Okay? That's why it gives a sense of a continuous identity. Your I sense that you have, it is like it's a very big identity. It's not a small thing, right? So this,
Isn't it your self-esteem?
that also leads to self-esteem, right? So that means that the kind of emotions you have, the kind of cognitive capacities that you have, the kind of memories you carry within you, that gives you your sense of I.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So isn't that
So
a self-esteem?
that also leads to self-esteem. Absolutely. Right? So that means you carry a self-image within you.
Yeah, and isn't that a starting point? If I have my low self-esteem, I mean, I perceive that I have some problems, that's the beginning of my problems. In fact, if I am satisfied with myself, I have a good self-esteem, am I not at rest?
See, generally what happens is that the whole universe is designed in a way that nobody can be totally satisfied, because the starting point of who you think you are, which is only this individual itself, is wrong.
But if you're satisfied also is the I sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But
There
you're
is a
satisfied
relative
for that
satisfaction.
time.
Exactly.
You
that
don't know how
means-
the world will change tomorrow.
Yes.
So that means you are satisfied, that means right now your mind is resolved, so your I sense is resolved temporarily. Then something else comes up and immediately. So that means this way, if you try to manipulate the mind and buddhi and intellect, there is no end, because you don't know what will come next. Okay? And if what Vedanta says is that if everything is variable, the emotions are variable, the cognitive capacity is variable, the memory is variable, therefore your I sense which gets connected to all this is also variable. Okay? But who are you? Are you the variable? No. Because you come to know different I thoughts that come and go, and if you were only one, you cannot be the other.
So fixed thing, is that the same awareness?
Is the awareness.
When we were like 3 years old, I don't know what happened, but
Yeah.
I am the same country. I know.
Yeah, so awareness, what Vedanta says is what is your true nature. And that awareness is never affected by whatever thoughts come and go.
Okay, which means you be just aware that this is happening.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly. I mean, there is basically all this is happening, but within that, as I said, Karma Yoga gives you an opportunity to remove certain distortions. Okay? Because even if you are basically free from all of this, you need to first fix it. From unhealthy to healthy, then you go one step further. Because if you don't make that step of unhealthy to healthy, this final understanding of who you are neither can be understood accurately nor can be lived. You can't live here, because otherwise two things cannot coexist, right? So what Vedanta says is something very delicate. You understand that? Okay. So your I sense gets connected to your mind, your buddhi, your memory, and it gives you this relative individual. Okay. That relative individual at times it has many distortions, at times is relatively healthy. Okay? So that means you have no choice but to reduce your distortions and become healthy, but this is not seen as the ultimate end. The ultimate end is to know that you are not just this individual who's connected to different functions of the mind. Who are you? You are the awareness which is what? Totally independent of all these four functions of the mind. And that awareness is not even individual to you. It is something which is all-pervasive. Okay. And that means if you put the I in its right place, then what? You are limitless.
You are part of the universe.
Yeah, you are.
Or you are the
I.
Yeah.
What did you say? You put your I
In this awareness,
Okay.
which is because of which you come to know different functions of the mind,
Mind.
then that awareness, we have seen in the classes, that awareness has no boundaries. It's not, there are many bodies, there are many minds, but awareness is only one. Like there are many glasses, seems to be many glass spaces. How many spaces are there? Huh?
One.
There's only one, right? Does the glass divide the space? No. The glass exists in space. It seems, are there two spaces here? There's only one space. Okay? So this is where we say that it seems to be divided. So awareness seems to be divided and to be confined to given body and mind, but awareness is always free.
which means the minute we are away from awareness, the problems start.
You can never be away from awareness because
or there is a distortion.
yeah,
There
exactly.
is
The minute you start you come back to our normal habitual way of thinking that I am only this much. Then
so
the
there is
separation
that
is
curtain.
There's
There
a veil, exactly. So that means the whole thing is that awareness is actionless. Who is the doer? This I sense, which is what? Looking at the world, deciding that I must what? I need this, and for this I must do that. All these activities happen where? In the mind. Okay? So this is where he says that way, if you think you are a doer, then you are what? Subject to, you perform, you have a free will, you perform action, you get the result for your actions, and you are what? Bound by the laws of cause and effect. There is no end. The minute you think I'm only this individual who's performing an action, then what? You have to get result for the actions that you perform. Okay? The only way to completely free yourself from this whole cycle of what we call cause and effect, which is karma, is by knowing Atma is never a doer. Okay? And this is what he explains in the next verse by saying that you think that a sannyasi who is giving up different roles is closer to knowledge, but that is not what makes really a person who is more knowledgeable. The real knowledge is knowing Atma to be always free from action. It's not about giving up or not giving up actions. It is about knowing, even though I'm very active in this world, okay, Atma, the awareness, never performs any action. This is the knowledge, and that is what gives one the freedom. You don't need to stay away from anything. You can be in midst of things.
You can be in the middle of a very, action, in the middle of it, but there is some part of you which is observing that.
Exactly. So this is what is the next verse. He's saying that. He's saying, okay, Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavita Pashyan shrunvan spushan jignan gachan swapnan shwasan pralapan visujan grunnan उन्निशन्निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्. Okay, this is little difficult to chant, so we will try.
we will not. We will try.
Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavita
Yukto manyeta tattvavita
pashyan shunvan spushan jignan
pashyam shunyam
pashyan shunvan spushan jignan
pushan signam
ashnan gachan swapan shwasan.
asham gachan
You have to break it in
This
a
is
right
the most difficult verse in Gita to chant, by the way. Yeah. Pralapan Visujan Grunnan Uddishan Nimishan Napi
Unnishan nimishan napi
Indriyan Indriyartheshu
indriyani indriyartheshu
Vartanta iti dharayan.
vartanta iti dharayan. You see, because we have learned in English and Marathi, we are used to words of a certain size. But
No,
if
but
you
if
make
you
it so
break it
long,
in a right
we don't know where to
then
break.
they might be able to.
That's right.
I see.
Okay. Naiva kinchit karomi iti yukto manyeta tattvavit. Tattvavit. The knower of the reality finds, it says, he considers himself as na eva kinchit karomi. I don't do anything. While what? While this is present continuous. While seeing, pashyan, right? Shrunvan, hearing, okay, touching, smelling, eating, walking, sleeping, breathing, talking, releasing, grasping, opening and closing the eyes, knowing full well that what organs are engaged in their objects. Okay? So we are not talking about not doing anything. What we are talking about, while I'm doing everything, what makes you a tattvavit is where you put your eye. That is
What is
the
the
only
meaning of
thing.
tattvavit?
Tattvavit means the vit is the one who is the knower of tattva. Tattva is the reality.
Principle, yeah, right.
Yeah. So the person who knows the reality is not somebody who has to give up any action. Don't think that sannyasa is closer to knowledge. Right?
Because if you are a sannyasi, you are still breathing.
Yeah,
So that's an
exactly.
action.
And that as long as you put your eye in this eye sense, which is ahankara, you don't know the reality. The minute you know that this eye sense is a relative individual which is connected to buddhi, mind, memories, and it has its own functions and it keeps changing. Who am I is this awareness. Awareness is because of which all these variations are observed. Itself is free from all the variations. You are free because your knowledge is freedom.
I have a question.
Yes.
If the karma yoga seems like a more effective path,
Yes.
why is sannyasa even offered as a choice?
That's an excellent question. Why is it offered? Because, I mean, it's not that here he uses that sannyasa is dukkham aktum ayogataha. Ayogataha means if you are not ready for it.
Right.
Right?
But if you're
But
mature,
if you're ready for it
it's
and
a
if
good
you're
choice.
mature, then that is a choice.
Okay.
And that is effective also. Because generally what happens is that if you are very active, then sometimes it's not easy for you to, for example, become a teacher. Or even if you become a teacher, right, of this spiritual knowledge. See, there are sannyasis who just devote their life to teaching this spiritual knowledge. So you need teachers in this world. Okay? And they don't have any other roles that they play. So that means they can devote so much time to the teaching. The second thing is that, you know, the students who come to them, sometimes they come from all kind of backgrounds and they need a lot of help to help them to grow. So that means if you're a person who's working and all, you don't have that much time to spend with your students and to make sure that they are growing well and, you know, they are. So the sannyasas Sannyasis have a lot more time because they've given up all the roles. So they help all the people who are spiritual seekers to grow and to gain the knowledge. So it is a very useful thing, but not if you are not prepared.
So it's for the mature ones.
So it is the mature one. And the mature one has both, I mean, it's not that karma yogis are only people who are not mature. Once you are mature, you have both
options.
Both options.
Thank you.
So here he says, while doing everything, here he says that where is the activity? He says, Indriyani indriyartheshu vartanta iti dharaya. The physical organs are acting, what? Coming in contact with sense objects and they are acting. That is going on. That nobody is denying. Where is actionlessness is knowing Atma, the awareness, to be totally free from any sense of doership. Okay, so this is where
Any sense of
doership. Okay, so therefore, this knowledge is not physically, is nothing about physically doing or not doing anything. It's about knowing what is your true nature. Okay, and once you know your true nature, you are already free. And you can be very engaged in the world. Please don't think that spirituality means you have to leave the world. This is the biggest misconception, and this is what keeps people from studying spirituality, because they think they will lose interest in the world. That they will not be able to engage as before, they will not be able to enjoy. In fact, it increases your capacity to enjoy the world because you give up all the burdens, right, with which you live. You can live with so much more freedom because you are not confused, you are not distorting things. You've given up all these distortions, you can live freely, you can be far more cheerful, far more enthusiastic, you can be far more proactive. Really, this is a spiritual person.
That's the aim which you are going to.
And the
But I mean, I am just out of curiosity. Have you seen people like this?
Oh yeah, many.
Yeah?
Many. Yeah. People live with purpose, they live with freedom, they make a big difference, they make
And
a
they're
big
never
contribution.
disturbed.
See, these are like never disturbed and all is something.
They are disturbed less
See,
often.
Exactly, they have a
Because
certain
fast.
perspective. And even if it is done, where is it all taking place? Tell me. In these four functions of the mind. Who am I? Okay, so that means we are not talking about, please understand, with reference to the mind, there is maturity. There is no, we are not talking about perfection.
Yeah, a mature person is not a perfect person.
Exactly.
He is better than the immature.
Exactly.
Perfect.
It's a proper perspective. It's a proper perspective, right? He is able to manage, he is able to manage anger, manage anxiety, manage everything, right? That is what we call a mature person. Then comes the knowledge about oneself, which is really the key to the absolute freedom. The key to absolute freedom is to know that awareness never gets affected in the first place. This is reality. Because whatever you observe, which comes and goes, right? What is the relationship between the subject and the object? Anything that you observe, do you take on the characteristics of something that you observe? Do you ever take on the characteristics of something that you observe? That means all the different conditions of your mind that you observe which come and go, you never take on their characteristics. This is a fact.
Except that I have seen young people imitate their parents, you know, the way they walk and all that. So how do you like that? So you are taking on the characteristic of the object.
No, that means you just learn and you learn behaviors by observing. That is something which is,
That is different.
but then that is different, right? So here he is talking about the real person who knows the reality does not mean that when you understand, what is the main thing? When you understand Atma is actionless, which is awareness does not perform any action, does it mean that you will not perform any action? No. Indriyani indriyartheshu vartanta iti dharaya. There is a physical body, there is an object, it will engage, right? But in awareness, that action does not take place where in awareness it is what? At the level of body and at the level of mind. Actions, things are taking place. Okay. So this is what he says, that don't think a sannyasa lifestyle where you are giving up roles is closer to knowledge. Actionlessness, which is a fact, is not closer when you give up roles. Right? Actionlessness is a fact. Once you know that, you can both be a sannyasi and very engaged in action. And this is how was Lord Krishna, how is Lord Krishna portrayed? Tell me, how is Lord Krishna portrayed?
He is so engaged in
He's so engaged in everything. Is he ever away from anything? In fact, he's the most proactive.
Yeah, and he's the
He's
most
always,
engaged
he's
person.
the most engaged person. Most dynamic. And living the whole life is so difficult.
Yeah,
And he went
the
through
life
lots of
And he
difficult
went
times.
through difficult times. Right? And in spite of them, what? How do you see
he's
that?
having fun.
He's having fun. Really, he's having fun. Relaxed. This is what wisdom does.
Yes.
It's just change of perspective. And change of perspective based on realities, not imagination. Right? It's not some kind of a positive thinking or some kind of hypnosis of, oh yeah, you're. It is just re-looking at what is the nature of reality.
Can I say that when you said that, I involuntarily I got so excited. That's why I was like,
Yes.
yes, I want to explain why I was
Yeah, that's what
silent.
it is. That's what.
Because that was very exciting.
Yeah, that is true. It is amazing when the truth is delivered just like that,
Right,
without
yeah.
any. It creates this kind of responses.
Exhilaration.
We've seen that. We've seen that. Okay. So now the next verses are now talking about, in this whole pursuit, what is the role of meditation? Okay. Why meditation? So that is, we will see next time. Is it? Yeah, because it's a different topic.
That was my question. I
you need
was
to
already
know.
coming up in my mind.
Yeah.
How do I become
Yeah.
free of, how do I connect with my own awareness?
Yeah. So meditation is a whole new topic, and one thing I want to say is that mostly when meditation is taught by different people, it's mostly taught as a technique, okay, where you thoughtlessness, okay, or concentrating on one thing, or seeing some light. Vedanta meditation is completely different. It is multifaceted, and you will see how it has so many different functions, what it can do for you. Okay? And it's all in keeping with this teaching. So I will tell you in this next verses what Krishna is explaining what is meditation and why.
You are making it so compelling for everybody to come next time.
She is a good salesperson.
That's what you did, Surya, upstairs, you know. I am now remembering that meditation,
selling-
the self-esteem.
I'm selling, yeah, I'm
You are
selling.
selling.
I'm Lord Krishna's salesperson.
That's why I like to say it's Lord Krishna's self-person.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vachishyate